Earth's brutal retaliation stunned the Galactic Council into silence. The transgression. The Galactic Council's massive warships surrounded the small Earth science vessel like wolves circling wounded prey. The Horizon, a research ship with just 30 crew members, had been conducting standard deep space studies in what Earth considered neutral territory. Captain Laura Miller watched through the main viewport as boarding shuttles approached, her face grim but composed. "They can't do this. We have permission to be here," said First Officer David Thompson, his hands clenched into fists at his side. "Apparently they think they can," Miller replied. She straightened her uniform jacket. "All hands, this is the captain. Offer no resistance. I repeat, offer no resistance." The metallic clang of the council troops boarding echoed through the ship. Tall beings in gleaming armor stormed onto the bridge, weapons raised. Their leader, a warrior with scaled skin and 4 arms, pointed at Miller. "Captain Laura Miller of Earth Vessel Horizon, you are under arrest for espionage against the Galactic Council. Your crew will be detained. Resistance will result in immediate execution." Miller stepped forward. "We are a science vessel in neutral space. Check our records. We have committed no crime." The warrior laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. "The Council has already determined your guilt. You will come with us now." 3 days later, on the Council capital world of Helix Prime, Miller and her crew stood in a massive circular chamber. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy watched from tiered seating that rose around them like a great bowl. At the center of the chamber, on an elevated platform, sat Supreme Counselor Vex. Vex was unlike any being most humans had ever seen. Nearly 3 meters tall, with skin so thin it appeared almost translucent, showing a network of glowing veins beneath. When Vex spoke, the chamber fell silent. "The evidence against the humans is clear," Vex announced, voice echoing. "Their vessel carried advanced scanning technology capable of penetrating our security systems. Their true mission was to gather military intelligence for Earth's planned expansion." From a small platform to the side, Earth's Ambassador Jackson Reed rose to speak. A tall man with dark skin and graying hair, Reed had served as Earth's voice to the stars for nearly a decade. "Honorable Council members," Reed began, "I have reviewed all evidence presented. The Horizon carried standard research equipment, nothing capable of the actions described. I request full access to the ship's computers to prove—" "Silence," Vex's voice boomed across the chamber. "Earth has no standing to make demands here. Your species joined our galactic community barely 20 years ago. You were welcomed, given technology, allowed to establish colonies. And how do you repay this generosity? With spying and plans for military action." Reed attempted to speak again, but 2 guards moved to his side, forcing him back into his seat. "This proceeding is not a negotiation," Vex continued. "It is a pronouncement of justice." The trial, if it could be called that, continued for 2 more days. Earth was not permitted to present evidence. Captain Miller was allowed to speak only once. Her statement cut short when she began pointing out inconsistencies in the Council's claims. On the final day, Miller and her crew stood together as Vex delivered the verdict. "For crimes against the peace and security of the Galactic Council, this body finds all accused guilty. The sentence is death, to be carried out immediately as a lesson to Earth and any who would threaten our stability." Reed jumped to his feet. "This is murder. You cannot—" Guards seized him as the crew of the Horizon was led away. Miller walked with her head high, meeting the eyes of the Council members who would look at her. 3 hours later, the execution was broadcast across all Council worlds. Miller and her crew lined up against a plain wall, faces proud even at the end. The final images showed them collapsing as energy weapons fired. On Earth, in the Unified Government headquarters in Geneva, Defense Secretary Alexandra Cooper watched the broadcast in a secure room with Earth's highest military command. No one spoke until the transmission ended. "They just executed 30 innocent people to make a political point," General Richard Harding said finally, his voice tight with controlled rage. Cooper, a woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many conflicts, nodded slowly. "It's worse than that. This was planned. They needed an excuse." She tapped her screen, bringing up classified intelligence reports. "Our sources indicate the Council has been planning to restrict human expansion for months. They believe we're advancing too quickly. Some Council races took centuries to develop technologies we've mastered in decades. It frightens them. So they murdered our people to justify whatever comes next," Admiral James Wilson said. Cooper's secure communication device buzzed. The message that appeared was encrypted with a protocol she had never seen before. The text was simple. They have done this before. To others, we can help you prevent your extinction. Coordinates follow. She looked up at the room full of Earth's defense leadership. I need to show you something, but first this room needs to be locked down completely. What I'm about to share is classified beyond any current protocols. When security measures were confirmed, Cooper spoke again. 15 years ago, after our first contact with the Council, Earth began a secret program. We didn't trust our new friends completely, so we developed technologies in isolation, things the Council doesn't know we have. She entered a complex code into her device. A holographic display appeared above the table. This is Project Nemesis, a response plan in case the Council ever turned against us. It includes weapon systems, defensive capabilities, and intelligence assets the Council believes are centuries beyond our reach. The military leaders leaned forward, studying the display with widening eyes. Madam Secretary, General Harding said slowly, "Are you suggesting we activate this project?" Cooper looked at the frozen image on another screen. Captain Miller's face in her final moment, defiant to the end. They executed our people in public to show their power. They believe we'll accept whatever restrictions they impose next because we fear them. Her voice hardened. They've completely misunderstood humanity. She entered another code, and a new message appeared. Activation authorization required. The Council believes they've sent Earth a message today, Cooper said. It's time we sent one back. She pressed her palm to the scanner and the system acknowledged her authorization. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility unknown to all but a handful of people on Earth, automated systems began to activate. Project Nemesis was awake. In his private chambers on Helix Prime, Supreme Counselor Vex reviewed reports with satisfaction. The human problem would soon be contained. Their colonies would be restricted, their military capabilities limited. The execution had been unpleasant but necessary. Humans needed to understand their place in the galactic order. Vex had no way of knowing that on Earth, humanity was preparing a response that would change the galaxy forever. And none of them, not Vex, not the Council, not even most of Earth's own leaders, knew about the message Cooper had received, or the mysterious allies who had sent it. Forces were now in motion that would reveal secrets the Council had kept buried for thousands of years. Earth's brutal retaliation stunned the Galactic Council into silence. The calculation 2 weeks after the public execution of the Horizon's crew, Earth's official response surprised the Galactic Council. Ambassador Jackson Reed, still visibly shaken from witnessing the deaths, delivered a message of apparent submission. Earth recognizes the authority of the Council in interstellar matters, Reed announced to the assembled Council members. We accept the ruling on the Horizon incident and will comply with all restrictions on our activities. Supreme Counselor Vex nodded with satisfaction. The humans had responded exactly as expected, with fear. But in a hardened military facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, a very different meeting was taking place. General Michael Ortega stood before a wall of screens showing detailed maps of Council space. A career military man with dark eyes that missed nothing, Ortega had been appointed Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces after the execution. The Council expects us to cower, he told the assembled officers and scientists. Their entire strategy depends on our fear. They believe we'll accept their restrictions rather than risk further punishments. He tapped a control, and the display changed to show military installations across Council space. What they don't know is that we've been mapping their weaknesses since our first contact. Every defense system, every fleet position, every vulnerability. Defense Secretary Cooper entered the room, accompanied by a man few people had seen before. Thin, with wire-framed glasses and an intense gaze, Dr. Aaron Fleming was the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Research Division. Dr. Fleming has something to show us, Cooper said. Fleming adjusted his glasses and stepped forward. For the past 7 years, we've been developing technology that the Council believes is centuries beyond our capability. He activated his own device, and a new hologram appeared, a weapon unlike anything the officers had seen before. This is the Void Lance, Fleming explained. It doesn't fire energy or projectiles. It creates a highly controlled temporary singularity, what lay people might call a small black hole, at the target point. The hologram showed a simulation of the weapon firing at a ship, The target simply ceased to exist without explosion or debris. The effect is contained and precise, Fleming continued. We can remove an enemy vessel without damaging anything nearby, or we can tune the effect to be much larger. General Ortega studied the simulation with narrowed eyes. How many of these do we have? We can arm 20 ships within 48 hours, Fleming replied. More will take time. On the other side of the galaxy, on a council monitoring station, Security Director Krell felt uneasy. Something about the humans' quick submission didn't feel right. Krell's species had evolved as hunters, with compound eyes that could detect the slightest movement and instincts finely tuned to danger. Krell reviewed the data again. Earth ships had changed their patrol patterns, supposedly complying with new restrictions. Earth colonies had accepted council observers without protest. Everything seemed to indicate acceptance of the new status quo. Yet something was wrong. Krell could feel it. Run another scan of Earth's military satellites, Krell ordered a subordinate. Compare current positions with last month's data. The results came back quickly. All positions match expected parameters based on Earth's compliance agreement, the aide reported. Krell's mandibles clicked in frustration. The feeling of danger remained. Back on Earth, Ortega was meeting with a being that few humans had ever seen. Tall and crystalline in appearance, with a body that seemed to shift between solid and translucent, the visitor was a Tellurian, a member of a species that officially served the Council but had their own grievances. The Council has done to others what they now do to you, the Tellurian said, voice resonating oddly in the secure room. My people were once free. Now we serve. Others have been completely destroyed when they grew too independent. Why help us? Ortega asked directly. Because you humans are different. You advance too quickly for them to control through gradual methods. If you succeed in standing against them, others might find courage to do the same. The Tellurian transmitted data to Ortega's secure system. These are the access codes for the Council's defense network. They change regularly, but I can provide updates. You will have a small window of opportunity during the founding celebration in 2 weeks. All major Council leaders will be gathered on Helix Prime. After the Tellurian left, Cooper and Ortega reviewed the new intelligence. Can we trust this information? Cooper asked. We've verified what we can. It matches our existing intelligence, Ortega replied. But something still bothers me about the Void Lance technology. Fleming's team made the breakthrough too suddenly. Cooper's expression revealed nothing. There are aspects of Project Nemesis that remain classified even from you, General. That evening, Cooper met alone with a figure identified in secure records only as the Architect. No images existed in any database. No official recognized the tall, hooded person who entered Cooper's office through a private entrance. The final component has been integrated into Fleming's weapon system, the Architect said, voice neither male nor female with an accent Cooper couldn't place. The Council will have no defense against it. Why help us? Cooper asked, echoing Ortega's earlier question. The Council has ruled through fear for 20,000 years. They have eliminated 37 species that might have challenged them. Humans are the first with both the capability and the will to stand against them. The Architect placed a small device on Cooper's desk. This will allow your ships to bypass their detection systems completely. After the mysterious visitor departed, Cooper sent a secure message to Ortega. Olympus has fallen. Commence Thanatos Protocol. Across Earth and its colonies, military forces began final preparations. Ships that had appeared to be in compliance with Council restrictions quietly changed positions. Weapons that officially didn't exist were brought online. On Helix Prime, preparations for the great founding celebration continued. The event would mark 5,000 years since the formation of the Galactic Council. Representatives from all member worlds would attend, along with the entire Council leadership. Supreme Counselor Vex reviewed security arrangements with satisfaction. The human ambassador has confirmed his attendance. Their submission is complete. Security Director Krell wasn't convinced. Something still feels wrong. I recommend doubling security and conducting deep scans of all human colonies. You worry too much. Vex dismissed the concern. Their military is primitive compared to ours. They know they cannot stand against us. The execution made that clear. In Earth's Orbital Command Center, General Ortega reviewed the final attack plan with his commanders. 20 ships equipped with Void Lance technology would strike simultaneously at Council military installations. Special forces teams would deploy to key positions using technology the Council didn't know humans possessed, and Earth's apparently submissive ambassador would play a crucial role. The Council believes they taught us fear, Ortega told his officers. Instead, they awakened something they've never faced before: humanity's full capacity for righteous fury. In 48 hours, the galaxy will change forever. As Earth forces moved into their final positions, a message was sent to all ship commanders. Remember the horizon. On Helix Prime, the founding celebration was about to begin, with Supreme Counselor Vex unaware that Earth had calculated its response, and the Council would soon be stunned into silence. Earth's brutal retaliation stunned the Galactic Council into silence. The response: the Great Hall of Unity on Helix Prime glittered with the light of 1,000 stars projected onto its transparent dome. Below, thousands of representatives from across the galaxy gathered to celebrate 5 millennia of Council rule. Supreme Counselor Vex moved among them, accepting congratulations and praise from delegates of 100 different species. Near the entrance, Earth Ambassador Jackson Reed arrived with a small delegation. He was polite but subdued, exactly as expected from the representative of a chastised world. "Ambassador Reed," Vex greeted him with artificial warmth. "I'm pleased Earth chose to participate in our celebration." "It shows wisdom," Reed bowed slightly. "Earth understands its place in the galactic community, Supreme Counselor." Vex smiled, showing teeth that gleamed like polished pearl. "Indeed, acceptance brings peace, Ambassador." As the celebration reached its peak, Vex ascended to the central platform to address the gathering. 5,000 years ago, our predecessors created this council to bring order to chaos. Today, we continue their legacy of peace through strength, of progress through control. At that exact moment, across council space, 20 Earth ships emerged from what appeared to be nowhere. Each took position near a major council military installation. No alarm sounded. No defense systems activated. They were completely invisible to council detection. On the bridge of the lead vessel, the EAS Retribution, Commander Diana Reeves gave the order: "All ships, deploy Void Lances. Fire on designated targets only." 20 beams of distorted spacetime streaked toward their targets. There were no explosions, no dramatic flashes of light. The council installation simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect spherical voids where massive structures had been moments before. On Helix Prime, Vex was still speaking when the chamber's communication systems suddenly activated on their own. The grand holographic display that had shown the Council's glorious history changed. Now it showed Captain Laura Miller and the crew of the Horizon in their final moments. The execution played in perfect clarity, faces of Council leaders visible in the background watching the deaths they had ordered. The recording looped, starting again. And again. Ambassador Reed stepped forward, his demeanor completely transformed. Gone was the submissive diplomat. In his place stood a man with eyes like steel. "Supreme Counselor," Reed's voice carried through the suddenly silent hall. "Earth sends its response to the Council's lesson." Vex grabbed a communication device. "Security. Arrest the humans immediately." Nothing happened. "Your security forces cannot hear you," Reed continued. "In fact, no one outside this hall can hear you. All communications have been severed." On a secondary platform, Security Director Krell frantically worked controls that no longer responded. "Emergency protocols are not functioning. Defense systems are offline." The main doors to the Great Hall opened. A squad of human soldiers entered, their armor unlike anything the Council had seen before, seeming to bend light around them. "What is the meaning of this?" Vex demanded, voice rising with the first notes of fear. Reed's expression remained cold. 27 Council military installations no longer exist. Your primary fleets have been neutralized. This facility is now under Earth control." Vex laughed, though the sound held no humor. "Impossible. Your technology is primitive. Your military is limited. You cannot possibly—" "We have never shown you our true capabilities," Reed interrupted. "What you thought was submission was preparation." The holographic display changed again, now showing real-time images of perfect spherical voids where Council military bases had stood. "The Council executed 30 innocent humans to teach us fear," Reed continued. "Instead, you taught us that the Council cannot be trusted to administer justice." Panic began to spread through the hall as the reality of the situation became clear. Vex turned to his inner council members, the leaders of the 7 founding races. Activate the emergency protocols. Retreat to the secure facility, he ordered. Reed smiled thinly. You mean your bunker 4 kilometers beneath this facility? The one shielded by technology you believed no one could penetrate? It's currently occupied by Earth forces. Commander Reeves led her team through the underground complex with perfect confidence. The council guards they encountered offered no resistance. Their weapons simply didn't function in the presence of the human soldiers. Secure the command center, Reeves ordered. Download all data according to priority protocols. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Taylor, worked quickly at the alien console. Commander, you should see this. There are files here about multiple species. Extinctions. Deliberate eliminations of races that developed too quickly. Reeves looked at the data with growing horror. Download everything. Earth needs to see the true history of the Council. Back in the Great Hall, chaos had given way to stunned silence as Reed continued. For 20 years, the Council has pretended to welcome Earth while secretly planning to contain us. You feared our rate of progress. You worried we would eventually challenge your authority. You were right to worry. The display changed again, showing a small moon in a distant system. As they watched, a beam similar to those that had struck the military bases hit the moon. The entire celestial body vanished, leaving nothing but a perfect void in space. That demonstration was performed on an uninhabited moon, Reed explained. The technology can be scaled up considerably. Vex's translucent skin had paled to almost white. What do you want? Justice, Reed answered simply. The Council will stand trial for its crimes, not just against Earth, but against all the species you have oppressed or destroyed over the millennia. In the corner of the hall, a Council military commander named Zalnur watched with an expression complex enough that few humans could have read it. His aquatic species communicated partially through bioluminescent patterns, and the lights rippling across his scaled skin told a story of both fear and relief. When Council security forces finally managed to partially restore communications, they discovered Earth forces had taken control of every major strategic position in Council space. The feared human retaliation had come not as a brutal assault but as a precise, surgical strike that left civilian populations untouched, while completely neutralizing the Council's ability to respond. In Earth's military command center, General Ortega watched the operation unfold with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, his aide reported. All targets neutralized with minimal collateral damage. No Earth casualties. Defense Secretary Cooper nodded. Begin Phase 2. Dr. Fleming, monitoring from his laboratory, activated the next stage of the Earth response. Across Council space, military vessels suddenly found their propulsion and weapon systems frozen, locked in quantum entanglement states that rendered them useless. The entanglement effect is holding, Fleming reported. Their ships are dead in space. On dozens of Council worlds, populations watched in shock as their leaders were detained by Earth forces or by rebels from their own species who had secretly allied with humanity. The Council's reign, unchallenged for 5 millennia, had been broken in less than 6 hours. On the Council homeworld, Ambassador Reed stood before the assembled Council representatives who now sat in silence. Their power gone. Earth does not seek to replace the Council's tyranny with our own, Reed announced. We seek justice for all species who have suffered under your rule. A tribunal will be established with representatives from all worlds. Evidence will be presented. Truth will be known. Supreme Counselor Vex, now under guard, glared at the human ambassador. You have no idea what you've done. There are things beyond your understanding, threats you cannot imagine. The Council has protected the galaxy by executing innocent people, by eliminating entire species who might have challenged your power. Reed shook his head. Your protection is finished. As Reed spoke, Commander Reeves made a discovery in the Council's most secure data vault that would change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy's history. The Council's rise to power had not been the benevolent unification they claimed. It had been a calculated seizure of control, led by Vex's ancestors, who had systematically eliminated competing powers and suppressed technological development across the galaxy for thousands of years. And there was something else, references to an ancient race that had supposedly threatened the galaxy long ago, the justification for the Council's harsh measures. But the dates and details didn't match the public history. The truth was far more disturbing than even Earth had suspected. As the first day of Earth's response ended, the Galactic Council had been left not just silenced, but revealed. The galaxy would never be the same again. Earth's brutal retaliation stunned the Galactic Council into silence. The reckoning, 3 days after Earth's stunning strike. The leaders of over 200 worlds gathered in what had once been the Council's Great Hall of Unity. The chamber looked different now. The ornate symbols of Council authority had been removed, replaced by a simple circular table where representatives sat as equals. Defense Secretary Alexandra Cooper addressed the assembly, her voice steady and clear. For 5,000 years, the Galactic Council has claimed to protect peace and order. Earth believed this claim when we joined the galactic community. We trusted the Council to be fair and just. She gestured to a holographic display showing the execution of the Horizon's crew. This was our reward for that trust. 30 innocent people, murdered to demonstrate the Council's power and Earth's supposed weakness. Cooper tapped a control, and the display changed to show documents recovered from the Council's secret archives. What we've discovered in the Council's own records is far worse. The Horizon incident wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a pattern spanning millennia. The display showed evidence of other species that had advanced too quickly for the Council's comfort. Some had been contained through restrictions similar to those planned for Earth. Others had been deliberately undermined through engineered conflicts or economic sabotage. And some, at least 37 distinct civilizations, had been completely eliminated. The Council didn't protect galactic peace, Cooper continued. It protected its own power at any cost. In a secure chamber below the Great Hall, former Supreme Counselor Vex sat under guard. His once imposing presence had diminished, his translucent skin now dull and gray with stress. Commander Diana Reeves entered with 2 guards and Council Military Commander Zal Nur, whose decision to defect to Earth had surprised many. The tribunal will begin tomorrow, Reeves informed Vex. You will answer for your crimes and those of your predecessors. Vex looked up, his eyes still burning with conviction. You understand nothing. The Council's methods may seem harsh to you, but they were necessary. The restrictions, the occasional removals, they maintained stability. Zal Nur's bioluminescent patches flashed with patterns of disgust. Tell them the truth, Vex, about the Purge Directive. Vex shot him a venomous glare but remained silent. The Council has a protocol called the Purge Directive, Zal Nur explained to Reeves. When a species advances too quickly, develops technologies that might challenge Council dominance, they first try restrictions. If that fails, the species is eliminated. Completely. How many times has this directive been used? Reeves asked. 37 confirmed instances in Council records, Zal Nur replied. The most recent was 300 years ago. Earth was being evaluated as the 38th. Reeves looked at Vex with cold eyes. The tribunal needs to hear this. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Aaron Fleming was working with scientists from multiple species in a hastily established research hub. The Void Lance technology that had stunned the Council had raised concerns among some Earth leaders about its potential for misuse. The technology must be secured, Fleming told the assembled team. It's too powerful to risk falling into the wrong hands, including our own governments. A Tellurian scientist, crystal body glimmering in the laboratory lights, moved closer to examine Fleming's equations. Your calculations contain elements I've never seen before, the Tellurian noted. The theoretical underpinnings seem not entirely human in origin. Fleming adjusted his glasses nervously. All technological advancement builds on previous knowledge. The Tellurian's crystalline form shifted slightly, their equivalent of raised eyebrows. Perhaps, but this specific approach to quantum manipulation bears remarkable similarity to theoretical work from the antecessors, a species eliminated by the Council 20,000 years ago. Fleming didn't respond directly, but his expression confirmed the Tellurian's suspicions. Back in the Great Hall, the Interstellar Tribunal had begun its proceedings. Representatives from dozens of species presented evidence of Council abuses against their worlds. The pattern was always the same: initial welcome, followed by increasing restrictions as the species developed, culminating in direct intervention if they didn't comply. Ambassador Jackson Reed, now serving as Earth's lead representative, was meeting with leaders from formerly suppressed worlds. The Council's fall leaves a power vacuum, said the representative from Meridian, a world that had chafed under council technology restrictions for centuries. How do we prevent chaos? Earth doesn't seek to replace the council, Reed answered. We propose a new structure, the Concordance. Equal representation, shared defense responsibilities, and most importantly, no restrictions on peaceful technological development. And the Void Lance? Asked another leader. Such power in any single species' hands is concerning. Dr. Fleming is already working on a solution to that concern, Reed assured them. In Fleming's lab, that solution was taking shape. The scientist had proposed a radical idea, creating a version of the Void Lance technology that would function only when approved by representatives from multiple species. The weapon cannot be fired without consensus, he explained to his multi-species team. No single world will have unilateral access. As his team worked, a message arrived from General Ortega. We need you at the tribunal. Bring the architect. The tribunal chamber fell silent as Dr. Fleming entered with a hooded figure that few had seen before. The architect moved with an otherworldly grace, face hidden in shadows despite the bright lights. Supreme Counselor Vex, brought in to face questioning, saw the architect and for the first time showed genuine fear. You're supposed to be dead. Your entire species was eliminated. The architect lowered their hood, revealing a face unlike any known species, smooth, almost featureless, with large eyes that held ancient knowledge and skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle colors. My people were the first victims of your council's purge directive, the architect said, voice resonating strangely in the chamber. 25,000 years ago, we were a peaceful spacefaring civilization. When we developed technology that could access other dimensions, the early council decided we were a threat. The architect moved closer to Vex, who seemed to shrink back. They didn't manage to kill all of us. Some escaped into the spaces between dimensions, watching, waiting. When humans began to show the same potential, we decided to act. Defense Secretary Cooper stepped forward. The architect contacted us after the Horizon incident. They provided key components for our Void Lance technology and helped us bypass council detection systems. The assembled representatives murmured in shock and concern. You allied with an unknown species to attack the council? One asked. We verified everything independently, Cooper assured them. The architect's information about council activities proved accurate. Their technology worked as promised. Most importantly, they helped us respond in a way that minimized loss of life, while ending the council's tyranny. Vex found his voice again. Don't be fooled. The antecessors weren't eliminated because of their technology alone, but because of what they discovered. There are threats beyond our galaxy that you cannot comprehend. The architect turned to face the assembly. There are indeed threats the council has hidden from you, but not from beyond the galaxy, from within it. The greatest threat has always been the council itself, manipulating species against each other, limiting advancement that might challenge their power, and eliminating any who came close to discovering the truth. What truth? Reed asked. That advancement doesn't need to be controlled. That cooperation is possible without domination. That the galaxy is large enough for all species to develop in their own ways without threatening others. The tribunal continued for days as more evidence was presented. Former council officials seeking leniency revealed centuries of manipulation, suppression, and genocide. Species that had been kept apart by council policy discovered shared interests and compatible technologies. On the seventh day, the tribunal reached its first decisions. Vex and the other council leaders who had ordered the Horizon executions would face justice for their crimes. The council's military and political structure would be dismantled completely. A new interstellar organization, the Concordance, would be formed with equal representation for all worlds. And most importantly, the restrictions on technological development that had held back countless species would be lifted. In a private meeting after the tribunal session, Cooper, Reed, Ortega, and Fleming met with the architect. You've guided us through this crisis, Cooper said. What happens now? The architect's shimmering eyes seemed to look beyond the room to distant possibilities. Now the real work begins. For 25,000 years, the galaxy has been artificially constrained. Species that should have reached the stars centuries ago were held back. Knowledge that should have been shared was hoarded or destroyed. Will you help us build this new concordance? Reed asked. My people will emerge gradually from our long exile, the architect replied. We have much to share. But we must be careful not to simply replace the Council's influence with our own. Each species must find its own path. As they spoke, Commander Reeves was making a discovery in the deepest level of the Council's archives that would shake even the Earth's brutal retaliation stunned the Galactic Council into silence. The Reformation 1 year after Earth's retaliation against the Galactic Council, the galaxy was a very different place. The massive Council administrative complex on Helix Prime had been transformed. Where once a single towering structure had dominated the skyline, symbolizing the Council's absolute authority, now a circular arrangement of buildings housed the newly formed Concordance. General Michael Ortega walked through the central plaza, observing representatives from dozens of species moving freely, engaged in open discussion and debate. As head of the Transitional Security Force, Ortega had overseen the dismantling of the Council's military structure and the redistribution of fleet assets to formerly oppressed worlds. "It still feels strange," said Ambassador Reed, joining him. "A year ago, humans were considered barely worthy of notice in galactic affairs. Now we're seen as liberators. By most, not all," Ortega reminded him. "There are still worlds loyal to the old Council, still forces that would restore the previous order if they could." Reed nodded. "The transition hasn't been entirely smooth. Some species had grown comfortable with the Council making all important decisions. Freedom can be frightening after millennia of control." They entered the central concordance chamber, where representatives from over 200 worlds were gathered for a historic vote. Defense Secretary Cooper was addressing the assembly. "The provisional government has served its purpose in maintaining stability during this transition," she said. "Today you vote on the permanent charter for the Concordance, a true interstellar democracy where all member worlds have equal standing and equal voice." The voting process took hours as representatives considered amendments and raised concerns. Unlike the old Council, where decisions were made by a small elite group and simply announced to the rest, the Concordance operated on principles of transparency and shared authority. When the final vote was tallied, the charter passed with overwhelming support. The galaxy had officially entered a new era. In Dr. Fleming's laboratory, now expanded into a multi-species research center, scientists from dozens of worlds worked together on technologies previously suppressed by the Council. Fleming moved from station to station, observing their progress with satisfaction. "The Tellurians' approach to quantum field manipulation is fascinating," he told his assistant. "Combined with the Meridian gravitic control systems, we're seeing applications that would have been impossible just a year ago." The laboratory's security door opened, and the architect entered. Though many of the architect's people had begun to emerge from their dimensional refuge, they remained rare sights in the galaxy. "Progress exceeds projections," the architect observed, looking at the various research projects. "When species collaborate freely, advancement accelerates exponentially." Fleming adjusted his glasses. "That's what the Council feared, isn't it? Not just that one species might surpass them, but that together, we all would." "The Council's founders believed control was necessary for stability," the architect replied. "They feared chaos more than they valued progress. Over time, that fear became a tool for maintaining their own power." The architect moved to a secure terminal and activated a private communication channel. "There have been developments regarding the ancient records Commander Reeves discovered." Fleming's expression grew serious. "The pre-Council texts? I thought they were still being decoded." "The process is complete," the architect said. "The results are concerning." On the other side of the complex, Commander Diana Reeves was meeting with Zal Nur, the former Council military leader who had defected to Earth's cause. Since the Council's fall, Zal Nur had been instrumental in helping identify and neutralize hardline Council loyalists who resisted the new order. Another cell was disbanded on Proxima 3, Zal Nur reported, bioluminescent patches pulsing with satisfaction. "They surrendered without resistance when confronted with evidence of the Council's crimes." Reeves nodded. "Good. The less bloodshed during this transition, the better." "There is something else," Zal Nur added, his patterns shifting to indicate concern. "Reports from the outer systems. Strange energy readings, similar to those recorded before the Council's founding. Related to what we found in the ancient archives?" Reeves asked. "Possibly." Zal Nur's lights pulsed rapidly. "The timing is troubling." Later that day, Earth's leadership team gathered in a secure conference room deep within the Concordance complex. Cooper, Reed, Ortega, Fleming, and Reeves sat around a table with the architect and Zal-Nur. The decoded archives confirm what we suspected, the architect began. The Galactic Council wasn't formed simply to maintain power for its founding races. It was created in response to something else, an encounter with an entity or force from outside normal space. The architect activated a holographic display showing ancient text and diagrams. According to these records, approximately 5,000 years ago, several advanced civilizations detected anomalies at the edge of the galaxy. Investigation teams disappeared. Then came direct contact with something the records called the Void Presence. What was it? Cooper asked. The records are unclear. The descriptions are almost religious in nature, speaking of that which devours light and thought. What is clear is that this encounter terrified the early council founders so deeply that they established their control system in response. They believed technological advancement attracted this presence. Fleming noted, reading the translated text. Their solution was to limit development across the galaxy, to keep us hidden. A convenient justification for their tyranny, Reed said skeptically. The architect's strange eyes fixed on the ambassador. Perhaps, but the energy readings Zal-Nur has detected match those described in these ancient records. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If this void presence is real, Ortega said finally, then by overthrowing the council and accelerating technological development across the galaxy, we may have inadvertently signaled our presence. The council's solution was worse than the problem, Cooper stated firmly. Suppressing development meant the galaxy would never have the means to defend itself if this threat returned. And we have no proof this threat is even real, Reed added. This could be elaborate misinformation, created by the early council to justify their control. Zal-Nur's bioluminescence flickered rapidly. The energy readings are real, Ambassador. Whatever their source, something is happening in the outer systems. The discussion continued late into the night. By morning, a decision had been reached. A joint scientific and military expedition would investigate the anomalies in the outer systems. Meanwhile, the Concordance would continue its work of rebuilding galactic society on principles of freedom and cooperation. 3 months later, the expedition returned with findings that would reshape their understanding of the galaxy. Yet again, the anomalies weren't signs of an external threat. They were natural phenomena associated with the galaxy's spiral arms passing through regions of unusual energy density, but the expedition had discovered something else. Evidence of highly advanced technology on seemingly primitive worlds. Technology that couldn't have developed naturally given those species' development levels. Someone has been uplifting these worlds, Fleming reported to the Concordance leadership, providing advanced technology to species that weren't ready for it, then disappearing. Creating instability, the architect noted. Perhaps trying to provoke conflicts that would justify a return to council-style control. Further investigation revealed a network of former high-ranking council officials working to undermine the Concordance. They had spread rumors of external threats while secretly working to create actual threats from within. When the conspiracy was exposed, public support for the Concordance solidified. The former council's attempts to reclaim power had failed completely. 2 years after Earth's retaliation had stunned the Galactic Council into silence, a ceremony was held to mark the completion of the transition. The last vestiges of council authority had been dismantled. The new Concordance was fully established, with elected representatives from all member worlds serving on a rotating basis. Defense Secretary Cooper, now serving as Earth's primary representative to the Concordance, stood before the assembled delegates. We gathered here 2 years ago in the aftermath of an act of brutality, she said. The execution of the Horizon's crew was meant to teach humanity fear. Instead, it taught us that freedom in this galaxy would not be given. It had to be taken. She looked around at the representatives of hundreds of worlds, many of which had been oppressed for millennia. Earth's retaliation was not just for our 30 murdered crew members. It was for the 37 species completely eliminated by the Council. It was for the countless civilizations held back from their potential. It was for a galaxy denied its future. Cooper gestured to the chamber around them. This concordance is built on principles the Council feared: cooperation without control, advancement without restriction, diversity without division. We face our future together as equals. Outside the chamber, General Ortega met with Commander Reeves and Dr. Fleming. The defense network is operational, Reeves reported. All member worlds now have protection systems that would have been classified as forbidden technology under the Council.